Saraca Ashoka, with popular trade names like Ashoka and Seetha Ashoka, is an important medicinal plant used in the Indian systems of medicine. Ashoka belongs to the legumes family, that is, Leguminosae. It is a medium-sized, evergreen tree growing up to 15 meters in height with moderate, fast growth. Sporadic distribution of Ashoka can be seen in Myanmar, India and Sri Lanka. Ashoka is grown in South Indian states, Orissa and Assam, and also in central and eastern Himalayas. Ashoka is also a popular avenue tree with beautiful architecture, attractive foliage and bright orange-red flowers. Ashoka trees form deep taproots and thus are suitable for planting on roadsides and near the buildings. Ashoka tree is linked with culture and religion in Myanmar, Nepal, India and Sri Lanka. With multitudes of medicinal properties and therapeutic uses, Saraca asoca has an apt Sanskrit name Ashoka, that is, the remover of sorrow. It is also known as friend of women, as it is especially used in the management of menorrhagia and other female reproductive problems. Though stem bark is the major raw drug, flowers and seeds of Ashoka are also medicinal. While flowers are used for treatment of hemorrhoids, dysentery, scabies in children, and various other skin diseases, seeds are used for the treatment of urinary discharges. For centuries, natural habitats have been the source of Ashoka tree for herbal industries. However, in the last few decades, its availability is becoming uncertain, and at the same time, demand has been increasing due to resurgence in interest in Indian systems of medicine. Due to the sparse distribution and poor population size in natural forests, Saraca asoca is categorized as vulnerable in the Red List of International Union for Conservation of Nature. It may be noted that several herbal industries, due to poor or non-availability of Saraca asoca bark, are using adulterants and substitutes, which may not have the desired therapeutic properties. For instance, Ashoka Rishtam, a well-known preparation made using Saraca asoca bark, is used to treat excess bleeding during menstruation. However, a study conducted at Kerala Forest Research Institute confirmed that stem bark of Polyalthia longifolia, a common substitute of Saraca asoca, do not have this property. You can also see distinct morphological differences in Saraca asoca and Polyalthia longifolia trees and identify them easily. Ashoka bark has very high demand in the Ayurveda industry, but it is in short supply and hence unable to meet the demand. Therefore, we need to take measures to promote Ashoka tree cultivation and create awareness among the people, particularly farmers, about the cultivation practices and economics of Ashoka trees. The National Medicinal Plants Board (NMPB) is the apex body under the Ministry of Ayush for promotion of the medicinal plants in the country. In order to strengthen the functioning of NMPB, 6 regional facilitation centres have been established to function as NMPB's extended arm in different regions, serving as one-stop shops. The RCFC Southern Region, housed in KFRI Pichi, covers 5 southern states, namely Andhra Pradesh, Karnataka, Kerala, Tamil Nadu, Telangana, and the 3 union territories, namely Puducherry, Lakshadweep, and Andaman and Nicobar Islands. One of the objectives of RCFC Southern Region is to facilitate production and distribution of quality planting materials of medicinal plants, including Saraca asoca. This documentary is created to disseminate scientifically validated agro-techniques developed for the Ashoka tree among all the stakeholders of the medicinal plant sector. Ashoka trees grow well in tropical climates with 1800 to 3000 mm rainfall on a wide range of soils, up to an altitude of 1000 meter. Although Ashoka is a light, demanding species, it is suited for cultivation in homesteads as well as intercrop. In the case of Ashoka, seeds are the best propagation material. Mature seeds from trees of over 6 years age can be collected from moist tracts during June to August. Seed collection season may vary from region to region. Seeds exhibit a short viability period. Therefore, it is advisable to use fresh and mature seeds. If storage is unavoidable, it can be stored up to 4 months under cold storage at 16 to 17 degrees Celsius. Approximately 30 kg of seeds are required for raising seedlings for planting in 1 hectare of land at a spacing of 3 meter into 3 meter. Seeds can be dibbled in raised mother beds of size 10 meter length, 1 meter width and 30 centimeter height, or directly in suitable containers of 25 centimeters length into 10 centimeter diameter. Prepare a nursery bed or containers using equal quantities of soil, sand, and farmyard manure. The seeds start germinating within 20 days and is completed by 50 days. The seed beds or seed sown containers should be adequately irrigated regularly. Seedlings become ready for planting in 8 to 12 months. Planting stock of Ashoka can also be produced through vegetative propagation. For this, use semi-hard branch cuttings with 2 nodes or shoot tips of 1-year-old seedlings. These cuttings are treated with indole butyric acid, talc-based preparation of 2000 ppm, and then kept for 8 to 12 weeks in a mist chamber to induce root formation in the cuttings. In the mist chamber, maintain temperature from 30 to 40 degrees Celsius and humidity from 80 to 90%. The rooted cuttings can be transplanted into containers filled with vermiculite. Necessary watering should be done periodically. After the establishment of the rooted cuttings in the mist chamber, keep them for hardening for about 3 months in open. About 14 months old seedlings can be used for field planting. For field planting of the seedlings produced from seed or cuttings, prepare pits of size 60 cm into 60 cm into 60 cm at a spacing of 3 meter into 3 meter. Allow the pits for weathering for 2 to 3 days and then refill with topsoil. Basal of lime as well as fertilizer and organic manure application required for good growth may be decided after getting the soil tested. Ashoka can be planted either as a pure crop or as an intercrop with plantation crops such as coconut, or even as an intercrop with other medicinal plants and herbaceous crops. When cultivated as a pure crop, 1,100 seedlings are needed for planting in 1 hectare area at a spacing of 3 meter into 3 meter. For planting as an intercrop with plantation crops like coconut at a spacing of 10 meter into 5 meter, about 200 seedlings of Ashoka trees per hectare are needed. On the other hand, for planting at a spacing of 6 meter into 3 meter as an intercrop with herbaceous crops, about 550 seedlings per hectare are required. During the first year after planting, weeding should be done 3 times. Application of manures and fertilizers are carried out as per soil test data. Provide partial shade along with frequent irrigation to the saplings for the first 1 or 2 years. If needed, water the grown-up trees by forming a ring channel around trees. In the intercropping system, pruning can be done in November if required. Ashoka trees start flowering from the age of 5 years. The bright orange-yellow flowers appear in bunches on the trunk as well as branches during November to June. The flowers turn red before falling. Fruits of Ashoka tree look like broad beans and ripen during June-August. Each fruit will have up to 6 seeds which are brown in color. On an average, 50 seeds will weigh a kilogram. Collect fruits, technically known as pods, once they show signs of splitting, and dry them under shade to extract seeds. As already indicated, the stem bark is a major raw drug derived from Saraca asoca. There are two methods generally followed to collect the bark. In the first method, the entire tree will be felled at about 15 years of age at a height of 15 cm from the ground level. If a tree is felled and sufficient irrigation and fertilizers are provided, the stumps will produce coppice shoots, which can be harvested again after 15 years. In the second method, the bark can be collected without cutting down the tree. In this case, bark is removed from about 10-year-old trees. Here, the bark is peeled off in vertical strips with 6 cm interspaces between each strip. The peeled off area is renewed with fresh bark in 12 to 15 months. Then the bark on the other areas can be peeled off without cutting the tree. This non-destructive method should be preferred for harvesting. Even while adopting this non-destructive method, following precautions should be taken. Peel the bark using a bush knife from the tree in small pieces, leaving most of it intact on the trunk on the east and west side of the tree. Remove the bark in small sections. Apply a small quantity of wet cow dung or Bordeaux paste to the bark wound. Thus, tree seal will prevent the wound from drying out and insect infestation or fungal infections. Stem bark should be harvested during October-November when the tree shows dormant growth. Studies indicate that the main constituents in the bark collected from the main stem and branches of Ashoka trees do not vary significantly. Therefore, sustainable raw drug extraction, mature branch bark harvesting is also recommended. It is very important to dry the collected bark immediately before storage to avoid microbiological contaminations and changes in the phytochemical composition. Bark should be dried well unless and otherwise required in specific cases. It should be dried in direct sunlight. Use a clean surface, preferably a clean cemented floor or a tarpaulin sheet for spreading the harvested bark. Before spreading for drying, remove all impurities. Cut the bark into small pieces of appropriate size to ensure complete drying before laying them into a thin layer. Make clear pathways to walk between the spread out bark. Upturn the material frequently to facilitate even drying. Whenever the harvested bark is procured, consult with the manufacturing unit who buys the product. Once the material is fully dried, cut them into even-sized pieces. Based on the bark thickness, grade them as first grade where thickness of bark is even and the rest will be second grade material. Store them separately in clean containers or sacks, gunny or jute bags in a clean and dry room. Labeled sacks should be raised off the ground and away from the walls. In the long run, cultivation of Saraca asoca is profitable for farmers. For instance, let us see the economics when Saraca asoca is grown as a sole crop. It is estimated that Rs 1,15,500 per hectare will be the total cost of cultivation and management of crops for 10 years. When trees become 10-year-old, bark collection can be started. Subsequently, every year, about 175 kg of dry bark can be obtained from 1 hectare of farm. At the rate of 150 rupees per kg of dry bark, annual income will be Rs 26,500. That means total income during 20 years of cultivation will be around 2,62,500. Net annual income from Ashoka trees 10 years after planting either with plantation crops or with annual crops are estimated. From Ashoka trees alone, Rs 6,000 and Rs 13,000 per hectare per year respectively will be the net income when integrated with plantation crops and annual crops. That means total income from Ashoka trees till they reach 20 years will be around Rs 60,000 and Rs 1,30,000 per hectare respectively, besides additional income from associated crops. Saraca asoca is an indigenous tree with a number of therapeutic uses. It is estimated that in our country, catering the needs of Ayurvedic drug industries alone annually, about 5,300 metric tons of Ashoka bark is required. However, the present supply is only about 2,000 metric ton of bark annually. Therefore, considering its increasing demand, poor availability and profitability of cultivation, growing Ashoka in different land use systems need to be promoted.